I'm Miss Anne, and today I am going to talk about viruses. And the reason I'm talking about viruses is that right now, coronavirus is affecting all of our lives very much. We're no longer going to school to spend time with our teachers and our friends, and we're all staying home in our houses. And the adults keep saying the reason why we're staying home is because of coronavirus. So what is coronavirus? What is a virus? A virus is a very small microbe. Micro means small. That is so small that we can only see it with a microscope. We can't see it with our eyes. And this microbe can float around in the air, and it can be on our hands and on our books and on the table, waiting dormantly to get inside a host. Dormant is kind of like sleeping. When a virus is floating through the air or is on our hands or is on our table or our books, it isn't making copies of itself. It's sleeping, it's dormant, it's doing nothing but just floating. That little virus that's just floating is nothing except some copy instructions, or DNA. Can you say that? DNA. Say that again. DNA. DNA is very exciting stuff. It's genetic instructions that tells something how to make a copy of itself. A copy of itself. Can you say genetic? Try that. Genetic. DNA is genetic instructions that tells the virus how to make a copy of itself. And those genetic instructions, that DNA, inside the virus floats around in the air, dormant, not making any copies. And it doesn't make copies of itself when it's on your hands, and it doesn't make copies of itself while it's on a book or on the table. But when the DNA inside the virus comes into a host through the mouth, the nose, or the eyes, then the DNA starts making copies. So a host is you, and all of your friends, and your moms and dads, all of the people are hosts. And the little virus is flying around in the air, it's on books and hands and surfaces, waiting to get inside a host so it can make copies of itself. And when it makes those copies, people get really sick, and some people get really hurt. So right now, because this virus is floating around in the air and we can't see it, and the adults know that it can make copies of itself if it gets inside people, and the adults know that if it's just floating around in the air, it's dormant and it's not doing anything. And the adults don't want the people to get too close to each other so that it might get into their mouths and nose and eyes, and so it might make copies of itself inside all of the people while they're talking to each other and going to school and going to class and going to work and doing all of the things that we normally do when coronavirus isn't around us. So that's why the adults are saying we need to do social distancing, because when we're not next to each other, we can't cough out copies of it at each other, and not as many people will get it.